Welcome back to the deep dive. I have to admit, I've been sitting with the source material for this episode for about 3 days now, and it's been haunting me.
Haunting is a good word for it.
Yeah. I mean, usually we talk about productivity hacks or history or maybe some cool new science. But today we are walking into the dark. And I don't mean ghost story dark. I mean, look in the mirror and question the foundations of your relationships dark.
It is heavy. I think this is one of those episodes where we genuinely need a disclaimer right at the front door. If you are currently feeling very fragile about humanity, or if you just want to believe that the world is a field of daisies where everyone holds hands, you might want to maybe skip this one.
For real.
Because we're digging into a source that unpacks Machiavellian thinking.
Yeah, and just saying that name Machiavelli, it triggers such a visceral reaction. We think of House of Cards. We think of scheming villains, people twisting their mustaches in the shadows, plotting to overthrow the king. It feels icky.
It does. It feels manipulative. It feels cynical. But the source material, which is drawn from this really comprehensive deep dive into dark psychology, it starts with a provocateur observation that completely flips that villain narrative on its head.
Right.
It doesn't start with how to be evil. It starts with a question. Why is it that the most honest people often get hurt the most?
That's the hook. That's the hook that got me. It's the paradox of goodness.
Exactly. Why do those who never even think about deceiving others, the people who are transparent, kind, hardworking, why do they so often face the most betrayal?
And why do the people we conventionally label as good so often hold the least amount of real power in an organization? It's a brutal question.
It's brutal because it flies in the face of everything we were told as kids. Think about the programming we all received.
Oh, totally. Tell the truth. Work hard. Be nice to everyone. Turn the other cheek. And the implied promise was that if you do all those things, the universe will reward you.
The just world hypothesis. It's this deep-seated belief we have.
Right. If I am good, the world will be good to me. It's a transaction we think we have with reality.
And that is a beautiful sentiment for a playground. It creates a nice, safe environment for children to learn social rules. But the source argues that when you carry that map into the adult world, into corporate politics, into complex social dynamics, into competitive markets, you are navigating with a map that doesn't match the terrain.
You're looking for the fairness highway, and you're standing in a swamp.
You're standing in a swamp. That's a perfect way to put it.
And we see this disconnect all the time, don't we? You see the loud, confident guy getting the promotion over the quiet, competent one. You see the person who knows how to play the game winning, while the person who refuses to play the game because they think my work should speak for itself
It gets completely ignored, left behind. And that is where the source makes its core argument. It says the world does not run on goodness. It runs on understanding. Or, to use the specific term the source highlights, samaj.
Samaj. Okay, let's unpack that because it sounds like we're getting into philosophy here. Is that just empathy?
It's deeper than empathy. Empathy is feeling what someone else feels. Saj is understanding why they feel it, what they want, and how they operate without necessarily agreeing with them or feeling their pain.
So it's more detached?
It's detached. It's the ability to read people from the inside out.
So it's forensic.
That's a great word for it. It's forensic psychology applied to everyday life. And that is our mission for this deep dive. I want to be crystal clear for you listening. We are not here to teach you how to be a sociopath.
Please, for the love of everything, do not use this to destroy your enemies.
We aren't here to give a tutorial on how to destroy your enemies. The goal is to provide you with a new pair of eyes. The source describes Machiavellian thinking not as a weapon, but as a map.
A map of the world as it actually is, not as we wish it to be.
Exactly. It's about decoding the difference between what people say to your face, that polite social veneer, and what they actually intend.
So it's strictly for self-preservation. It's a defense manual.
Precisely. But, and here's the warning the source gives, which I think is fascinating. It says, the knowledge that strengthens you can also make you dangerous. It's like learning a martial art. You learn how to break an arm so you can stop someone from breaking yours. But once you know the mechanics of breaking an arm, well, you possess the capacity for cruelty. You have that knowledge.
So the listener has to make a choice right now before we go any further. Am I learning this to protect myself, or am I looking for ways to manipulate others?
And if the answer is the second one, the source warns that this knowledge will eventually eat you alive. You become isolated, paranoid, and eventually you lose. But if it's for protection, Then let's dive in, because the first step is completely reconfiguring your mindset.
Okay, let's do it. Let's talk about that mindset, because when I hear Machiavellian mindset, I picture a cold, robotic brain, someone calculating every move, treating people like chess pieces. It feels unfeeling.
That's the stereotype. That's what we all think of. But the source argues that the foundation isn't cruelty or coldness. The foundation is clarity.
Clarity. That sounds innocent enough, but I have a feeling the source means something very specific by it.
It means the refusal to look away from uncomfortable truths. Most of us walk around with a filter on. We project our own values onto other people. If I am an honest person, I assume you are an honest person.
Yeah.
If I value connection, I assume you value connection. We default to projection.
We think everyone is running the same operating system we are.
Exactly, and that projection blinds us. The Machiavellian mindset strips that filter away. It accepts that humans are not ideal. We are flawed. We are often selfish. And in many situations, power comes before morality.
That is heavy. And honestly, it feels cynical. If I walk into my office tomorrow and assume everyone is selfish and flawed, isn't that a miserable way to live?
It feels miserable if you are attached to the fantasy, but think about the alternative. The source argues that denying these truths doesn't make you a moral person.
It makes you a victim.
It makes you easy to control. It makes you a target. If you refuse to see that a shark bites because sharks should be nice, you aren't being good by swimming with it. You're just being lunch.
So it's about survival. It's just about seeing the world for what it is.
It's about engagement with reality. And this leads to the most important tactical shift in the source material: observation over reaction.
It's a rule of distance.
Yes, emotional distance. Now, this doesn't mean you don't have emotions. It doesn't mean you become a stone. It means you create a pause, a gap between the stimulus and the response. The source calls it slow thinking.
I love this concept of slow thinking because I am definitely a fast thinker, and not in a good way. I'm a reactor. If someone sends me a passive-aggressive email, my fingers are flying across the keyboard before I've even processed what I'm feeling.
You want to win the argument now.
I want to win the argument now. I want to fire back that perfect, witty retort that puts them in their place.
And that is exactly what the other person wants. The moment you react impulsively, you are under their control.
How so? I feel like I'm taking my power back.
Because they have dictated your emotional state. If a coworker makes a snide comment and you snap back, they have successfully pushed a button on your dashboard. They know where the button is now. They know that if they want to distract you or make you look unprofessional or throw you off your game, all they have to do is make that comment. You are a puppet on a string.
Oof. But like that, it's infuriating. It really is.
It should be. The Machiavellian response is to feel the anger. You are human, let the adrenaline hit, but you do not act. You observe the anger. You step back and look at the situation like a scientist looking at a petri dish. You ask, why did they say that? Why now? What reaction do they want from me?
It changes the game from a boxing match where we're just trading punches to a chess match. You stop listening to the words and you start analyzing the patterns.
Exactly. Let's look at a specific example the source gives, because I think this one trips up the good people the most. It's not an insult, it's the opposite. Effusive praise.
Oh, the flatterer. The person who comes on way too strong.
Right. Imagine you're at work, you've been feeling a bit undervalued, and suddenly a colleague, maybe someone you don't know that well, comes up to you. They say, oh my God, I read your report. You are a genius. You are the only one who understands this project. I have never met anyone with your insight.
No, my human brain, the part of me that craves validation, hears that and thinks, finally, someone sees me. I like this person. They are smart because they think I'm smart. My ego just lights up.
And your defenses drop to zero. You are now wide open.
Because I want to believe them so badly.
Of course you do. The Machiavellian mind hears that same praise, and the alarm bells go off. It doesn't bask in the glow. It asks, why this? Why now? What is their need?
Because normal praise is usually specific and moderate. Hey, good job on that section about the quarterly earnings. That's normal. But you are a genius, the only one who can save us.
That's suspicious. That is a transaction waiting to happen. They're buttering you up because they're about to ask for a huge favor, or they are trying to align you against someone else, or they are trying to lower your guard so they can extract information. The good person enjoys a compliment and gets played.
And the aware person decodes the strategy and stays safe.
They stay safe. It really is a different way of seeing the world, but to do this effectively, you have to understand what you're actually looking at. Which brings us to section 2. We have to talk about the hardware. The biology.
The realism of human nature.
This is where the source strips away the civilization argument. We like to think we are sophisticated beings. We wear ties, we drink lattes, we have Zoom meetings. But the source asserts that despite all that, we are driven by a primitive brain. And that brain cares about three things: fear, desire, and self-interest.
The unholy trinity.
It's the lizard brain, the amygdala. It's millions of years older than the part of your brain that cares about corporate values or politeness. The source argues that everything else, altruism, morality, etiquette, is a veneer. It's a thin layer on top.
So when the pressure is on, the veneer cracks.
Always. Every single time. When resources are scarce or when safety is threatened, the primitive brain takes the wheel. But here's the tricky part. We are masters of self-deception. We don't like to admit we are acting out of self-interest, so we justify our selfish decisions with moral reasoning.
Oh, we see this constantly. The boss who fires a bunch of people to save his own bonus, but he stands up in the meeting and says, "We are doing this to ensure the long-term health of the organization." It's a hard choice, but it's the right choice.
Exactly. He frames it as a moral duty. It's for the greater good. Or the friend who bails on helping you move because they got invited to a party, but they tell you, "I just really need to prioritize my mental health and self-care right now."
That is the ultimate modern excuse. Weaponized therapy speak.
It is. We dress up our primitive drives in socially acceptable costumes. And the source makes a crucial point here. If you rely on someone's goodness, you are gambling.
Because you're betting that their veneer will hold. You're betting that their rational, civilized brain will win out over the lizard.
Yes. You are betting against their biology. But if you rely on their self-interest, now you are calculating. Now you are on solid ground. You can predict what someone will do if you understand what they feel or what they desire. You can't predict what they will do just because they should be good.
This leads to a really interesting point about hypocrisy, specifically regarding strength versus weakness. The source points out a massive contradiction in how we behave versus what we say. We say we love humility. We say we love the modest, quiet, nice person. But who do we actually follow? Who gets the attention?
We follow control, we follow boundaries, we follow strength.
Why is that? If we say we value niceness, why don't we respect the nice guy?
Because of that primitive brain. Historically, evolutionarily, strength equaled safety. If you were in a tribe 50,000 years ago, the nice guy who wanted to share his berries couldn't protect you from the tiger.
Right.
The strong leader who set hard boundaries and commanded the room, that guy could keep you alive. That person's presence meant security.
So deep down, we are still wired to look for the person who can protect us.
Or the person who can threaten us. It's about capacity. In the modern office, the person who sets hard boundaries commands respect. The person who always bends, who is always nice, who always says yes to every request.
They get walked all over. They become the office doormat.
They are liked, sure. Oh, Bob is so sweet. But they are disregarded. When the promotions happen, Bob is ignored. When the tough decisions are made, Bob isn't consulted. Because Bob has demonstrated that he has no power.
That hurts to hear because I think a lot of us are raised to be Bob. We think Bob is the ideal. We're told to be helpful and agreeable.
Bob is the ideal for a peaceful society. But Bob is not equipped for a power dynamic. The source mentions that people don't actually want what is right. They want what is easy. And often, respecting the strong person is easier than standing up for the weak one. It's the path of least resistance.
And that concept, the path of least resistance, connects to how we view the world. The source talks about cynicism as a form of laziness.
This is a really important distinction. A lot of people hear this Machiavellian stuff and they go, "Oh, well, the world is trash. Everyone sucks. Trust no one," and they check out.
The nihilist approach. Just bring it all down.
The source argues that is lazy. Saying everyone is evil is just as blind as saying everyone is good. It saves you from the hard work of actually analyzing people. Real Machiavellian thinking is active. It requires constant observation. It's not about giving up. It's about engaging with reality so effectively that you can navigate it.
So we've established the mindset, clarity and observation. We've established the playing field. A world driven by primitive needs and self-interest. Now, let's get into the mechanics. How is the game actually played? This brings us to Section 3, the psychology of power and control.
And this is where we have to redefine power.
Because usually we think of power as loud, the boss screaming, the politician pounding the podium, the threat.
That is loud power. And the source argues that loud power is often a sign of weakness. It's a sign of desperation. If you have to scream to be heard, you have already lost control. You are forcing compliance, which breeds resentment.
So what is real power? What does it look like?
Real power is silent. It isn't forcing someone to do something. It is creating a situation where they want to do it, or where they are too afraid to do otherwise without you ever raising your voice.
I like the analogy of the dog and the tiger here that the source uses.
It's a classic, and it's perfect. A small dog barks at everything. Why? Because it's afraid. It's pleading with you. Please don't hurt me. Look how loud I am. I'm dangerous.
The tiger. The tiger doesn't bark, it just stares.
And that stare is terrifying.
Because the tiger knows it can end you, it doesn't need to advertise. The source argues that not appearing is often more effective than appearing. The person who speaks less often controls the room.
Why is silence so controlling? I find silence awkward. I want to fill it. It feels like a void.
That's exactly why it works. Nature abhors a vacuum. If I sit across from you in a negotiation and I ask you a question, and you give me a half answer and I just stare at you and stay silent, what happens?
My anxiety skyrockets. I start rambling. I start explaining myself, justifying my position. I start bidding against myself just to break the tension.
You reveal yourself. You project your own anxieties onto my silence. You think, oh no, he doesn't like the offer, so you improve the offer. I haven't done anything, I've just waited.
That is the utility of fear, but in a really subtle, quiet way. Yes, we are taught that fear is bad, but the source reframes fear as a guide and a constraint. You don't need to be a terrorist, you just need implied consequences.
It's the look, the disappointed parent look.
The look, the pause on the phone line, the vacuum of information. If you are unpredictable, people become careful around you. Think about the boss who is moody. Everyone tiptoes. Now think about the boss who is always nice, always forgiving, always picks up the slack.
You take that boss for granted. You turn in work late because you know he'll say, it's okay, I understand, there are no consequences.
Precisely. If you are entirely predictable, you are safe to ignore. The source suggests strategic ambiguity. If people don't know exactly where the line is, they will draw the line much closer to themselves just to be safe. They effectively control themselves for you.
That is terrifyingly brilliant. And this control doesn't just work one-on-one, does it? It works on the group, the herd.
Social fear. This is one of the strongest drivers of human behavior. The source argues that people fear standing out more than they fear being wrong.
This reminds me of the Asch conformity experiments. I think we need to tell that story because it illustrates this perfectly. It's just wild.
Oh, absolutely. It's a cornerstone of social psychology. So this was the 1950s. Solomon Asch brings a group of people into a room. He shows them two cards. One card has a single line on it. The other card has 3 lines of different lengths. One of them matches the first card perfectly.
And it's obvious. It's not an optical illusion. A child could see it. It's a vision test, basically.
Exactly. But here's the catch. Only one person in the room is a real participant. Everyone else is an actor working for Asch. And Asch tells the actors to lie. He tells them to pick the wrong line.
So they go around the circle. The first actor says, I pick line B. The second says, I pick line B, I pick line B. And the real guy is sitting there thinking, wait, what? Line B is clearly too short. Are these people crazy? Am I having a stroke?
Exactly. He's confused, he's squinting, he's rubbing his eyes, but then it gets to his turn. Everyone is looking at him. The group has established a reality. Line B is the match. His eyes tell him it's line A. But his social brain creates a massive conflict. He starts sweating, his cortisol spikes, and in a huge percentage of cases, what does he do?
He says, I pick line B.
He lies. He denies his own senses just to remain in sync with the herd. He fears isolation more than he values truth.
So a Machiavellian thinker uses this. If you want to control a meeting, you don't need to convince everyone individually. You just need to build a critical mass.
Exactly. You get a few key people on your side beforehand. If you can get 3 people to nod along with your bad idea, the 4th person, the skeptic, will likely fold because he doesn't want to be the difficult one.
He doesn't want to be left out in the cold.
Isolation to the primitive brain meant death. If you were cast out of the tribe, you were done. We still carry that deep primal fear.
Okay, that's the group dynamic. But let's zoom back in on the one-on-one combat. Section 4. Emotional manipulation and social games. This is where it gets really dark. The source says people love the illusion of choice.
We all want to believe we are the captains of our own souls. We hate being told what to do. The source argues that the best manipulator makes you believe it was your idea to walk into the trap.
And there are 4 specific tools mentioned here. We touched on praise, which feeds the ego and lowers defenses. But let's look at the others. Sympathy. This one is so tricky because sympathy is supposed to be a virtue.
It is a virtue, which is why it's such a perfect Trojan horse. The source calls this the most subtle trap. Here's the dynamic. Someone shares a tragedy with you, a personal struggle, a woe is me story. Maybe it's a divorce or a sick pet or just overwhelming stress.
And naturally, your heart goes out to them. You're a human being. You want to help.
Of course. But the Machiavellian question is this sharing or is this assigning responsibility?
Ooh, that's the key distinction, isn't it?
Consider the coworker who comes to you on Friday afternoon. They look devastated. I'm having such a hard time at home. I just can't deal with this spreadsheet right now. I'm going to crack. They lay it on thick.
And because you know their story, you feel trapped. If you say, well, the deadline is at 5 p.m., you look like a monster. You look like a heartless jerk.
Exactly. They have successfully transferred the burden of their work onto you, using your own empathy as the binding agent. Now that you know, you can't say no.
That is weaponized vulnerability.
It is. And the defense, which is really hard for nice people, is to distinguish between emotional support and practical responsibility. You can say, I am so sorry you're going through that. That sounds awful. Full stop.
You offer the tissue, not the labor.
Correct. You do not add, let me do the work for you. You hold the line. Then there's guilt, the silent weapon. I expected this from you after all I did for you.
Ugh, that one's rough. Guilt attacks your self-image. You want to see yourself as a good person. The manipulator holds that image hostage. A good friend would help me move. A good daughter would call her mother more often.
A good employee wouldn't ask for a raise right now in the company's family.
Yeah.
It's a lever.
Yep.
And then the fourth tool, anger.
We talked about silent power, but sometimes people use loud anger.
Notice how they use it. The source calls it a performance. Watch a manipulator when they are questioned. If you ask a tough question about where the money went or why the project failed and they suddenly explode, how dare you? I have been working 80 hours a week for this company. What are they doing?
They are creating a smokescreen, changing the subject from the facts to their feelings.
They are using anger to end the questioning. If you get scared or feel bad, you back off. They have successfully defended their position not with logic or facts, but with an emotional explosion.
So the counter is to view anger like the weather.
Observe it, don't drown in it, don't react to the noise, react to the tactic. I see you're upset, but the question remains, where is the money? That deflates the performance instantly because you aren't playing your part in their script.
There's one more character in this section we have to talk about, the victim player.
Yes. The person who uses victimhood as a shield. This is very, very common in modern social dynamics. If you criticize me, you are bullying me. If you hold me accountable, you are oppressing me.
It's a get-out-of-jail-free card for any responsibility.
It is, and it's incredibly effective because, again, decent people don't want to be bullies. The victim player knows this. They know that if they cry victim, you will freeze. It uses your decency against you.
It all comes back to that difference the source mentions between being attached and being secure. It talks about relationships built on the fear of separation versus genuine safety.
That's the distinction between love and safety. A Machiavellian manipulator creates a bond where you are terrified to leave. That's the fear of separation. They might say, you're crazy. No one else would put up with you like I do.
That's gaslighting, pure gaslighting.
It is. It's attachment through insecurity. I need them because I'm worthless without them. A healthy dynamic is based on safety. You stay because you want to, not because you're afraid of the alternative.
This is getting deep into the psychology of toxic relationships, not just workplace politics. It really shows how these tools are universal.
Human nature doesn't change just because you clock out at 5 p.m. The same brain that navigates the boardroom navigates the bedroom.
Okay, let's pivot. We've been in the dark for a while. Let's talk about the proactive side. How do we use this for, well, maybe not good, but for effectiveness? How do we use these insights to actually lead? Section 5, strategies for leadership and influence.
The source makes a profound point here. Leadership is a signal, not a title. You can be the CEO and have zero influence. You can be the quiet guy in the corner and run the room.
And it gravitates toward calmness.
The contagion of emotion. We know panic is contagious. If we are in a theater and one person screams fire and runs, everyone runs. But stability is also contagious. In a crisis, people unconsciously scan the room. Their lizard brains are looking for the person whose heart rate hasn't spiked.
The person who looks the least frightened leads the tribe.
Exactly. If you want to influence a room, do not match the chaos. If everyone is shouting, drop your voice to a whisper. If everyone is rushing, slow your movements. Become the rock. People will cling to you because they are drowning in ambiguity, and you represent solidity.
That leads to decision-making as a service. I love this framing because I feel it every night with my partner.
The where should we eat dilemma, the eternal struggle.
Yes. Where do you want to go? I don't know. You pick. I picked last time. It's exhausting. I don't want to choose. I want to be told where we're going.
We think making decisions is a privilege, It's actually a burden. People are exhausted by choices. They are exhausted by ambiguity. They crave relief. A leader takes that weight. And here's the key from the source. Clarity is greater than correctness.
Wait, really? It's better to be clear than right? That sounds totally counterintuitive.
In the context of leadership and momentum, yes. Think about a group lost in the woods. They're arguing, maybe it's east. No, the sun sets there, it must be west. They are panicked. They're going in circles. If a leader stands up and points and says, we are going north, and starts walking with confidence,
Everyone follows. Even if they're not 100% sure north is right.
everyone follows. Now, maybe north is slightly off, maybe northeast was better, but because they are moving, they are no longer panicking. They can adjust course later. A perfect plan that never launches is useless. A clear plan that needs adjustment is actionable.
So people prefer a clear direction over a perfect one. That explains a lot of politics, honestly.
It explains almost all of politics and corporate leadership.
And boundaries come back into play here for leaders. The power of no.
Your identity is defined by what you refuse to compromise on. Think about water. Water has no shape. It fits into whatever container you pour it into. If you say yes to everything, you are water. You have no identity. You're formless.
But if you say no, you become a solid object. You have edges.
And edges can be respected. You can lean on a solid object. You can't lean on water. The source talks about strategic distance. This is the loneliness of leadership. If you are too close to your team, I'm your best friend, let's get drinks every night. Respect vanishes. You can't critique your best friend effectively.
But if you are too far, the guy in the ivory tower who never talks to anyone, connection breaks. You become irrelevant.
Exactly. You have to find that middle ground. You have to know what to hide and what to show. It reminds me of the Wizard of Oz.
The wizard behind the curtain. Don't show them the little man pulling the levers.
You can't show everyone the machinery. If people see you doubting yourself, if they see you sweating every decision, the magic is gone. You have to maintain a little bit of mystery. And importantly, as your influence grows, honest feedback shrinks.
The emperor's new clothes effect.
Yes. People start telling you what you want to hear because they fear your power or want your favor. Great idea, boss. You're so funny, boss.
So the Machiavellian leader knows this and doesn't believe the hype. They don't drink their own Kool-Aid.
They actively seek truth because they know it won't come to them naturally. They have to create safe channels for bad news. They have to reward the messenger who brings the ugly truth, not shoot them.
And speaking of ugly truths, what about owning mistakes? How does that fit in?
Owning mistakes strategically. Note the word strategically. Taking responsibility for failure creates safety for the group. If the leader says, my bad, I messed this up, I take full responsibility, the group exhales.
Because they know they aren't going to be scapegoated. They're not going to be thrown under the bus.
Right. It creates psychological safety, but it's also a flex of strength. It says, I am strong enough to carry this failure. It won't crush me. Weak leaders blame others. It was the intern. It was the market. Strong leaders absorb the blame and distribute the credit. That buys you immense loyalty.
Okay, we are arriving at the most critical part of this deep dive. Section 6, ethical warnings and psychological safety. Because if you just take all these tools, the silence, the ambiguity, the manipulation of fear, and run with them, well, you could turn into a monster.
You could, absolutely. Yeah. And the source is very clear about the mirror test. It references Nietzsche. He who fights with monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster. And if you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you.
So what's the moral line? How do we use the map without becoming the villain of our own story?
It's a variation of the golden rule, but applied to power tactics. Do not use these tactics on others if you do not want them used on you.
Simple.
Simple to say, incredibly difficult to do, because once you see how effective these tools are, how easy it is to guilt trip someone into doing what you want or to use silence to make them squirm, it is so tempting to use them for petty wins.
I could get the better table at the restaurant if I just manipulate this host a little bit. I could get my partner to clean the house if I just play the victim card.
Right. And that is the slippery slope. The source warns against the trap of arrogance. Once you start seeing these patterns, oh, he's doing the sympathy trap, she's doing the praise trap, you can start to feel superior. You start to view others as players or NPCs, non-player characters, in your game.
And that leads to isolation, right? You're no longer connecting with people.
It leads to a profound loneliness. If you view everyone as a puzzle to be solved or a threat to be neutralized, you can never truly connect. You are just a spider sitting in a web. That is a miserable existence.
So expert insight time. How do we avoid that? How do we keep our humanity while having these eyes?
Empathy, but a deeper kind of empathy. True understanding shouldn't lead to contempt. It should lead to compassion. If you see someone lying to you and you understand why, that they are lying because they are terrified of judgment or because they are insecure, you don't have to hate them. You can navigate the lie without condemning the person.
You see the fear behind the behavior.
Exactly. They are bragging because they feel small. It's not a reason to destroy them. It's a reason to handle them carefully. You can protect yourself without being cruel.
And the ultimate twist the source throws at us at the end. Internal application.
Yes. This is the climax of the philosophy. Machiavellianism must be applied to yourself first. You have to be ruthless with your own internal narrative.
Recognize your own fear, your own greed, your own self-deception.
Why did I get angry when he said that? Was it really because he was wrong or because he bruised my ego? Why did I want to say yes to that bad deal? Was it because of the money or because I just wanted them to like me?
Self-deception is the real enemy.
The highest form of power is not controlling others. It is mastering your own impulses. If you can't control your own reaction to a slight, if you can't control your own need for validation, you have no business trying to control a boardroom. You are a slave to your own biology.
That is the mic drop moment right there. It turns the whole thing inward. It's not about them, it's about you.
It really does. It all comes back to self-mastery.
So let's wrap this up. This has been intense. My brain feels a little rewired.
It's supposed to be. The source ends with a final provocation. It says, if this deep dive made you uncomfortable, it's working. Real understanding is rarely comfortable. We prefer the fairy tale.
But we can't live in the fairy tale if we want to survive the forest.
The goal isn't to become a manipulator. It's to stop being a pawn. It's to see the wires so you don't get tripped by them.
And I love this closing thought. The real power isn't in what you can do to others, but in what you refuse to let others do to you.
That's it. It's about boundaries, clarity, and self-possession. It's about building your own fortress from the inside out.
Well, listener, take a deep breath, shake it off, maybe go look at a picture of a puppy or something to reset the palate. But remember, you've got the map now. How you use it, that is up to you. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Stay safe out there.
See you next time.